Welcome to Unmatched Throwdown. This is Amaze. Tonight we're going to be talking about Tales to Amaze. This is the expansion of the game which allows for for co-op. And if you'd like to see a little bit more about this game, we did play one. And so you can kind of follow along once you have kind of looked at the game, and I've shown you a little bit about it. So this is a co-op game, like I said. The object of the game is to take out the boss. There are two bosses in this game. There is an alien or a Martian, and it comes apart, so it's pretty easy to put together. And then there is the Mothman. So with it, there is minions that come with the game. This is the minion. And this is called the threat tracker. This is called the doom token. These are called bridges. There are 4 of them. This is the deck for the minion. This is the deck for the Mothman. And they get recycled throughout the game. One thing I wanted to just preface this, because it is a great mechanic in this game, is that there is almost no control of the villains. So I like that, because you're actually literally playing against the game, which is okay. So let's start with this. When you start the game, this is how you set it up. You put up all of the 4 bridges. You put on the minion and the boss. And then you start again with this. Or the doom, the threat marker. When you start the game, you first pick a boss, which is, of course, either the Martian, which we're not going to be playing. So that card goes away. You have the Mothman. These are cards that will determine your turn order. So this is a 1 to 4 player game. Doesn't really matter what turn you come into the game, because the cards get shuffled. So this is the turn order card for the Mothman. And I've randomly picked one for this demonstration called the Blob. But there are 5 other ones. There is the Lovely Frog, the Skunk Ape, the Jersey Devil, the Ant Queen, and then the Tarantula. So those are all the of course, taking the Mothman out, these are all of the minions that you can choose from. Each minion has their own flavor of ability, but again, for this demonstration, I'm only going to be using one, which is the Blob, and of course the boss. So you take these 2, you put them here, and you take the health token, the cards, health token for the Blob, and the cards, and then any peripheral things that come with it. These are Blob tokens, which I will explain what they are. Now, in a 1-player game, you are only going to set the Mothman to 10. But if this were more players, it's 10 plus 10 for every single player in the game. Again, we're only going to be playing a single player, so it's Mothman. Every single minion is actually going to be 10 health. Okay, so place these 2 here, and then you choose the number of you choose the tile that is your number. So you can shuffle them up, you lay them down, somebody picks it, and then that's the number order that they become. This is just a placeholder to say number 3 goes on this turn. He could go first, he could go last. It really doesn't matter. It's just a placeholder. So I'm going to take the 1 because it's just me. And on top of that, I'm going to also be taking the 1 turn card, which is right here. So right now I only have 3 cards. This these 3 cards will grow as the game progresses, depending on what you have for a minion. This minion actually doesn't have another, so we're actually going to be playing with these 3 cards in turn order. So when you start the game, you're going to be shuffling these cards, lay them down, and then there's your turn right there. So Blob goes first, I go next, and Mothman goes next. Then you shuffle the cards again, and then we got I go first, Mothman goes second, Blob goes second, and Mothman goes last. And the turn consists that way. You just keep shuffling them, and then you turn over the next card to see what it is and what you're doing. So that's the turn deck right there. Now, when it comes to the boss deck and the minion deck, there is one card I just want to show you, because I bet you're wondering, okay, well, when these there's not a lot of cards in here, but when they are gone, what do you do then? Well, there is one particular card in this deck that is called, try to show it to you if I can. There we go. It's called Deception. What it says is, whenever this card is put into Mothman's discard pile, shuffle this discard pile back into the deck, including this card. This effect cannot be canceled. So no matter what you do, this card goes back into the deck with the cards that have been in the discard pile. So it's and it's also, if you can see by the attack value and the defense value, it's a 0/0. So it could be great when you're in the middle of a fight and you want to not take damage. Okay, so there's that. Something I just grabbed here. Let me grab these. This makes the game harder. These are cards that you can play. It makes the game actually harder. And if you watch the video that we played in the first playthrough that I did with my buddies, then you'll see what we had. But this one, just to give you an example of one, this one says, you must also defeat all minions to win the game. Well, I'll tell you what, most of the time we go with destroying the minions anyway, but you don't have to unless you use the more difficult cards, because the object is to take this guy down to 0, and again, there's only one player, which is me, so it's going to be 10 health. Okay, so let me see if I'm missing anything. Oh, the bridges. Okay, so excuse me. What happens is, again, just bring him down to 0 before this goes through 4 times. So it moves through, and I will explain in a minute here how it works. But when it reaches here, we take the lowest bridge, which is this one, and then we turn it over, and then we have to deal with the outcome of having the bridge be destroyed. Okay. So another thing I wanted to mention before I actually kind of play a turn, is that these minions, the minion and the boss, have to be able to reach us every single time that they're on their turn. If they cannot, then we have to move the threat level up 1, and the boss does not move. Okay, but here's another thing. If it's my turn and I want to use a bridge, let me just back up real quick and tell you what these bridges are. These bridges are actually connecting points to this zone to this zone. And again, zone is colors. From this zone to this zone, there is that. Once the bridge is gone, that is broken, and you cannot cross here. You can't attack from here. Again, if you're melee. Okay, so let's see what the bridges do, because they're positive effects for you. This says Suspension Bridge. Reveal the top 2 cards of any enemy deck and discard 1. So what you could do is, if you flip over the next 2 cards and it turns out that it is a bad card, you can take that bad card, throw it in the discard pile, take the other one, put it on top, and then you know what the next attack is going to be. So it's a great ability. This one is move a fighter up to 3 spaces. Again, you're in a bad spot, you need to move. You can use this bridge ability. This bridge says a fighter recovers 3 health. Very important because you're going to be using a lot of cards. You're going to be fighting minions, fighting and defending minions and bosses. And the more minions and bosses we have on the table, the more you're going to be attacking and defending. So you're going to be needing this a lot. I've had this a lifesaver for many times. And the last one is another one of my favorites. It says, a player draws until they have 4 cards. So when you're out of cards, somebody can come here and give you 4 cards. Every one of these bridges allows you to not just affect you, but also to your allies. So they're very, very helpful. Another thing I wanted to tell you about the greatness about these bridges is when you have a Doom token, which this is, and let me just show you real quick what a Doom token looks like if you hadn't done the Kickstarter. This is the Martian side, and this is that is the Mothman side. This is for the Martian side for Kickstarter. Let me just see if I can show you a little closer look of it. So that's what the Martian looks like when you Kickstarter. And again, this is the Doom token for the Mothman. Very cool. I really like it. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, well, this is great. You can do this, but how do I use this ability? Very simple. I'm going to put him Titania here, and when I use a maneuver, and so it's every maneuver action that you can do this, I can throw away I can discard a card and use its boost value to remove a threat token with the number of my boost value. So it doesn't have to be just one. It's like if I had 4 and there were 4 there, then I would be able to take off 4 Doom tokens. Doom tokens are going to come in handy. Doom tokens are going to come in later in this video, so I'll show you what they do. Also, too, if there's no Doom token there, you can just throw away any card, and then you can use the ability. So that's how you use it. If you want to you can do it before, after, doesn't matter. It has to be during your maneuver phase. So for instance, if I want to use this, but then I want to move, I maneuver, throw the card down, and then move, or I maneuver here, move, and then I can pick up because I can do the throwing away of a card to get rid of the Doom token and to use it. So it can be before, after, doesn't matter, as long as you've taken your maneuver. So I could do this twice and not even move, I guess is what I'm saying. And I've had to use the one for 3 health here twice. And so I just maneuvered twice, not moved, and gave 6 health to someone. So it's very, very, very handy. So if you go back a little bit, remember that if this goes here, I have to get rid of the lowest drawbridge, and that means that I cannot use this anymore, and I can't use the ability anymore. So it's really important that you try to save the bridges you want. I mean, ultimately, you don't want to lose any bridges, but I mean, if you do, you want to lose the one that is the least important. Again, you want to get rid of these Doom tokens. That's the number one reason how you'd lose them, is with Doom tokens and then getting the Doom tracker going up. You want to try to keep it as low as possible. Okay, so your question probably is, okay, well, how do we get the Doom token to move? Well, let me do one full turn, and then I'll kind of show you how it's done, okay? So here we go. I'm going to shuffle this up. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm not really playing the game. But I'll just show you what it's like. Okay, so you lay this here, and you flip over the first one. Oh, look, I go first. So I'm going to start at my beginning area. The boss always starts on the number 5 area, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but again, this is a 1 to 4 player game. So he's always on number 5. And when you place your minion, just like a sidekick, they have to be on the same color. Again, looking back at the first video I put, this is a zone. They have to be in the same zone. Whoops. I'll explain that in a minute too. They have to be in the same zone as the boss. But remember, again, you also want to be very... keep in mind that you want to at least be 3 spaces away so that you don't have a threat. So this one is 1, 2, and that's good. Something I don't know if I mentioned, but all heroes, all minions and boss get a 3 movement, and they only are able to attack just once. So I just want to add that in. Okay, so first player, that's me. Well, let's see, what am I going to do? Well, let's just say, for instance, I have a Doom token there and I want to get rid of it. Well, I'm going to go 1, 2. I'm going to throw away a card. I'm going to throw away, I keep saying throw away, sorry. I'm going to discard this card, which gives me an extra 1. So my movement is boosted by 1, which is going to be right here. I'm going to do this. Discarded it. For the movement, and now I need to discard a card. I'm going to just throw away this 2. Again, not really knowing what it does, but it's a 2 boost. And so if there were 2 here, I could get rid of it. And again, if there is nothing here, I still could throw away any card, and this will come into effect. So, but because I have a Doom token on it, I threw away 2 boost card, and now I can get rid of this, and this is now off of the table. Okay. So that's how the bridge works. Okay, so I've taken my turn. I'm going to maneuver. Oh, I've already done that. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'm maneuvering, and I have that was my first move, my first action, and now I'm going to attack the blob. So I'm going to throw this down, and I've got to tell you, there's some people that do dramatic effect. Not really. I don't really. Especially in this particular game, usually every defense, I just lay it down because, you know, I know that you've already played your card. But if you want to do thematically, you lay this card down here. I'm attacking him because we're adjacent to each other. He takes the top card off of here, lays it down. We flip them together. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to play it the way I usually play it. And then we look at his card. There is a black line that I want to show you. Let's see if I can get it. If you see it, it's right above the 2. There's a black line. What that actually means is if there is no black line here, this is attack and defense. This ability goes for attack and defense. If he's just defending, then he gets no ability with it. Okay, so I've attacked him. So it says 5, and his is a 2 to defend. So he takes 3 points of damage. So I would go like this. I would give him 3 damage. 2, 3. Then we go into after combat. He has an after combat. I have an after combat. His says deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter in the blob zone. Place an acid token in an empty space in the blob's zone. I'm not in the blob zone, so he can't throw it on me, but he can throw it anywhere on his zone. So he can put it over here if he wants. Doesn't really matter. But for this point, I'm going to try to get him to stop stop me. So I'm going to place it. I'm going to place it here. I'm going to place it here to defend my Mothman. So what it says is, if I want to go through here, it doesn't stop me, but I have to take a point of damage if I step on this spot. So that's a good place for the blob to put it. This is, let me just really quickly touch on the things that we have control over. I can control, let me just move this out of the way real quick. Okay, so I've taken this, I've done this, and then mine just says place Oberon in a adjacent space to Titania. I don't have Oberon out, so that's not a problem. Okay, so I wanted to tell you what's in your control and what's not in your control. We've already know what's not in our control, which is the card flipping. And the movement, though, does have our control. So, for instance, if I were going to attack, if I were going to have him attack, and I am here, And let's just say this is my actual sidekick, and my sidekick is actually right here. If you look, he can attack here, or he can attack here. So what we have as a group is we can decide, and you'll see in the video of the playthrough that we did, that we can decide, okay, can you take the damage? Can I take the damage? One clarification I want to say is I'll take the damage, which actually what I meant was I can defend the damage. So he's going to attack me, and then the play goes through. Okay, so that's how that works. That's one of our controls that we have, is how the minion or where the minion goes to attack us. But he has to attack us. Remember, we have to be 3 spaces away, and he has to attack us, or the Doom token, the Doom threat token, threat clock goes up. Okay, so that was Blob turn. I mean, that was my attack on the Blob. So now we're going to move the next one. And this is called the Initiative deck. Now it's Mothman's turn. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I was. Let's say I was here. Okay, so one thing I've got to tell you is, and again, this is part of the basic Unmatched. So a lot of the stuff that I'm saying here, I'm kind of glossing over because my introduction talks about a lot of this stuff, but I'm just going to kind of glaze over it. So all negative effects do not affect the ally and the person. So because this can affect me, it will not affect him. So he actually can move 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, okay. I'm going to put myself over here. Okay. 1, 2, and now he can attack me. So in the battle here, he flips over this card. I'm not going to go with a 0 because I already showed it to you. So now he's playing this card. And when he plays this card, you don't flip it over. So I don't actually, when I'm playing this, I usually just do this. I throw down my card, and then he turns over his card. So I already know in attack and defense that he's going to have to pull his card. So I usually do my attack or defense first, and then we just turn over the card so that we know, we already know that we have no control over this. So he does 4 damage to me, and I take 2. I mean, I block 2 of it. So the red is 4, I'm blue, I take 2. So I don't have my counter with me, but I just go down 2. And then I have an immediate, he has an after. Again, I'm defending, so it says, you may discard your glamour. If you do, cancel all effects on your opponent's card. So if I had a glamour, which again, you can watch the video and you'll see what a glamour is. I could throw that glamour away and I would negate this. But because I don't, he has an after combat and it says deal 1 damage to each fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter. If each, for each fighter... for each fighter damaged this way, add a Doom token to the lowest numbered bridge. So in this case, it would be, the bridges are all numbered. So you could just see this says bridge 1. You may not be able to see it, but it is bridge 1. I lay that there. And then again, you'll see what the Doom token does. And that is his turn. So it's the next person's turn, which we already know it's going to be the blob. Blob attacks. So he's going to move 1, again, does not affect him. Let me see. Oops, that's not connected. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to attack her. And again, because I know that... Whoops. Get up here. Because I know what the attack or defense, that she has no control, I can just lay down my card, which is usually what I do. So sorry. Geesh, I'm going to get comments that I keep knocking him down. So I am going to defend with a 3, I guess. And then we turn over this card. And he is hitting me for a 1. So he does no damage to me. I have a during. He has an after. I am defending. So I go first. You may discard your glamour. If you do, the value of this card is 5 instead. So I would discard a glamour if I wanted to. Of course, I don't because he's only doing 1 point of damage to me. So... that goes off first. Then his is after combat. Deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter for each acid token on or adjacent to their space. Well, I have no acid token adjacent to me, so I am free as a bird. I don't take any damage. Okay, so the turn is completely done, and now here comes where the doom, the threat marker moves. So after everybody's attacked and everyone's defended, which we have, then we read the cards. This one says place an acid token in blob's space if there's not one there already. So this is the blob token. I would put it here. So now we have two blobs, two blob damage tokens on the board. Okay, so that's his. Second one, advance. This is the Mothman, and you do these in order. Advance the threat marker a number of spaces equal to +1 plus the number of doom tokens on the lowest numbered bridge. Well, that would be 1 plus this, which is 2. For this video, I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm going to say we start at 0 and it goes 1, 2. Can't remember if we have to start at 1. I can't remember. And then, of course, I have nothing. So you do this all over again. You shuffle the deck. And then you just rinse and repeat until the boss is dead or the minion is dead. And then you have to take on the boss. Something that I want to tell you is any negative effect that's on the board stays on the board no matter what happens to the minion. Or the minion. So I would still have to deal with these. There are other effects that can happen in the game with other minions, but for this one, he just has damage tokens. The last thing I wanted to mention, and let's just go through a thing where I have to destroy it. So I go here, destroy a bridge. It's always the lowest bridge. So this doom token is on this bridge. It goes to the next highest one, which is 2. I place that there, so all the doom tokens on this bridge would go to the next lowest one, next highest one. I'd flip this over, and then I would do whatever this says, which says place Mothman adjacent to a hero with the lowest health. Well, since it's just me, it would be right here. But if there was one over here, then he would move right to here, and he'd be adjacent to them. So that's the destroyed bridges effect for that one. And that is it. Now I'm going to pause the video, and then what we'll do is I'll flip this over and I'll just kind of show you what the Martian side looks like. Okay, so this is the Martian setup. So I just wanted to kind of show you what each function of the board is. One thing that you've got to do when you start the game is you're going to be putting on these little tokens on the board. Each token has a ability or an image or an image, I guess, on each one of these little pog things. You lay them down face down, and then when the doom token comes to here, you flip this over. And then, every time that the Martian plays one of his attack cards, then what you will do is you will look to see if that matches what is on the card. So, for instance, this one has a symbol. This one has, let me just see. Okay, so when this card is played, you immediately read the effect that's on this. So if that's turned over, it says, during combat, add a +1 to the card value for each occupied field. Okay, and I'll explain what occupied fields are. But if this has been turned over and we've done the doom clock and it's gone to here, or threat tracker, that gets turned over. When all 4 of them turn over, we'd lose. And we lose immediately. Like when the doom tracker goes here, we turn this over, we immediately die. There's no more turns. And the same goes for Mothman. Once the bridge is destroyed, there is no more turns. So you basically get 3 turns, and then on the 4th turn, if that one's destroyed, then the game ends immediately. So 3 chances, I guess. Okay, so gameplay is exactly the same as the other one. The only difference is that when you turn over the Martian card, you'll have this that you will have to deal with. It says, advance the threat marker a number of spaces equal to +1 number of occupied fields. Well, you think to yourself, okay, well, there are no fields occupied. Well, during the game, you're going to have cards that say, let me see, place the Martian invader in a space bordering the lowest numbered empty field. So, of course, he would go here. So that one's pretty easy. But then you've got cards that say, this one, after combat, place an alien in each field bordering the Martian invader's space. So if the Martian invader is, let me just see, if the Martian invader is here, then we would put a alien token, and I'm just going to use the one that is right here. We're going to put an alien token here, and then another alien token over here. And again, when you get to the card that says here, it says that advance the threat marker a number of spaces equal to +1 the number of occupied fields. So this would be 2. I don't have the, I'm sorry, I don't have the one at my fingertips, but we'll pretend that this is the other alien. Sorry, I don't have it in my hand and I'm looking real quick, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Well, anyways, that's it. This one is the alien and this one's the other alien. Again, if I had the icon. And so we would have to put the threat token up 1, 2, +1 is 3. So this would go up 1, 2, 3. These numbers are not as important as other creatures do things if the threat token threat tracker is at a certain number. But for this case, it doesn't really mean that much to us. The Ant Queen really uses this to her advantage. Again, if you have any questions, I mean, his movement's exactly like the Mothman. There is one caveat. In order to remove a one of these aliens from the field, let me see. So, in order to remove an alien, okay, it's similar to the bridge a little bit, because what you do is you have to land in a zone, or excuse me, not in a zone, but in a space that's adjacent to here, and you can see here all the different arrows that point to where it is. Then you can remove just one of the aliens. So on a really good chance, you can maneuver, take one away, maneuver again, take one away, and you can remove 2 of them. There is no other special abilities or special effects or anything that comes on here like they did with the bridge. So you're kind of running around trying to get rid of the Martians that are on, or the aliens that are on the field, so that the threat tracker doesn't move up. Because again, at the end, it's 1 plus every field that's occupied with an alien. So it's pretty nasty. Last thing I wanted to share with you, I'm gonna wipe this all out. This is the book that comes with it. It answers, I would say, most of the questions that you have. On the back side, it shows what each minion has for kind of like an introduction to who they are. There is a ginormous community. Facebook has a ginormous, just a lot of people, very nice people that will explain any rule that you don't understand. And I've had no problems getting any of my questions answered. And sometimes I get them in minutes, and sometimes an hour. It's never really been a long time. So I highly recommend, if you have a question, go right on to Facebook and ask your questions. You can post them in here, and I will be glad to get back to you with the answer, because I've got a plethora of people that I can turn to that have this game But I will tell you this, it is the #1 game that I've ever owned. It is fun. It's not one of these games where you have to sit and just really, really concentrate. You can talk and laugh. That's a big, big plus on this game. Wanted to say thank you to everyone that has joined so far. I am super happy. This is my very first run into being on YouTube. I've wanted to do this for at least 3 or 4 years, and I am just very thankful for the people that have joined me. And coming later in future videos, I will definitely be telling you about people that have inspired me in this game, people that I believe you could probably turn to and get a lot of information from. There's a lot of really good YouTubers that have already covered Unmatched. I'm just putting my little niche on it. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and like and subscribe.